Okay, so welcome. In this video, we are going to create an app, get our machine set up, send the app to our real phone. If you don't have a real phone or a tablet, you can use the emulator. And also, we will send a message to the Logcat window as well. So let's get started. We need to make a new project. So we're going to make an Android application project. From the file menu, we need to give it a name, so let's call my application Awesome2. Now the project name is the name that we're going to see inside the Eclipse workspace. We could keep this the same, but just for fun I'll show you that it can be different. I'll put a at the end. And the package name, this is the unique name that all the apps use, so my package name better be different from your package name, otherwise an Android user would not be able to have our two apps installed at the same time. So convention is to separate words with a period, a full stop, and not use spaces. So you'll see as well that it's all in lowercase. So for example, I might choose angrave.lawrence, or I might choose, say, angrave.play, and be fairly confident that this part of the package name is unique. And then we'll also have the application name or something related to the application name. So let's call it Awesome2. Okay, right. So angrave.play.awesome2 is going to be the unique internal name for this application that we're creating. Then we need to choose the minimum SDK. This is the oldest phone version that we will run on. Today I'm going to change this to be 18, and I'll show you how to change it later after we've created it. So what we're saying right now is that we're creating an application that only runs from API onwards, 18 onwards, and also that we're targeting 18. This means that we've tested it on level 18. Perhaps in the future, as I say, if we've got Android apps running on tomato cans, our apps will need to know about what it's like to run on a completely circular screen, but I don't know about such a functionality today, and if my app was to run on a future version of phone, then the operating system would say, aha, this phone was created when the developer knew about version 18, and would make allowances for my app so that it would run well on a futuristic phone. Anyway, so let's click next. Right, yes, we'd like a launcher item, yes, we'd like an activity. Okay, and this time we'll make it out of text, so let's give it some text like awesome, and we will have some colors, so my background can be blue, my foreground I'll make this orange color, and let's put it in a circle, okay, with a bit of padding as well. Okay, alright, that will do for my app icon. Okay, yes, we'll start with a blank activity, and our activity name will be main activity. Okay, so we wait a moment, and our first app is created here. Sorry, the files of our second app are created here. We would like to run this on a phone. Well, as luck would have it, I have a phone here, and there's a few things that we need to do to the phone and potentially to our machine as well. So on the machine side, on Linux and Windows, you will need to install the relevant USB driver so we can talk to the phone. On the phone side, we need to set it up for debugging and to enable it so that we can actually install apps directly through the USB lead. So on the machine side, there are instructions on the main developer's website, developer.android.com, on how to set up USB debugging. If you're on a Mac, you don't need to do anything. On a Windows machine, you'll probably need to download the right driver. If you got your phone from Google, so for example if it's a Nexus phone, you can use the USB drivers installed through the SDK manager. Otherwise, there are instructions on what to do, and you'll see there's Windows 7, XP, and Vista instructions along here. So you'll need to walk through that, and exactly what you need to do depends upon your system. So now let's actually go back to our phone here. So using hardware devices, I've got the link up already. And we need to get to the developer options on our phone to enable USB debugging. Now, where it is depends upon how old your phone is. And also, if you have a recent phone, actually, we've got to do a little tap dance. We've got to go to the build number and tap it 7 times. So where's the build number? You'll find it under settings, about phone. So that's only for the most recent phones. In earlier phones, the developer options are not hidden, and you can find it directly either by going to settings developer or under settings application development. So let's have a look at my phone today. What have we got? Okay, on this one, if I go to settings, about phone, you'll see on this phone, my developer options are easily found. I don't need to tap on the build number. I don't need to go to about phone and then tap on the build number. So developer options, and right now my developer options are off. So I won't get very far until I turn them on. And I click OK. And a couple of useful options here is to say, yes, let's stay awake, so we don't need to keep turning it on. And also we want to have USB debugging on. So you'll probably see a dialog like this. Say, yes, we would like to have USB debugging. And now we'll be able to send our apps directly to the phone. Okay, right, so we've finished that. Okay, so this particular phone is not the latest phone. Actually, if I just go back to the settings, we can see what it is. Where's my settings? So let's just check about phone, and I see that I'm running Android version 4.1.1 on this phone. So my current app that I've just made expects at least, I think, 4.3, so we won't be able to install it directly to this this phone. So I'm going to show you the tricks we need to do to fix that. Here we are back in Eclipse, and because we've enabled USB debugging on the devices view, we can actually see that the phone has appeared. If it doesn't show, then maybe your USB driver is not working, or you might need to do the trick of selecting Reset ASDB from this menu on the right. Okay, so we've got a phone here, and you see it's listed the version as well, 4.1.1, and inside the logcat window, which I've just double-clicked, we can start to see some of the internal messages being generated by this phone. Let me go to my awesome app and see if I can run it on my phone. So if I do run as Android application, and we wait a moment, I'm looking to the bottom right hand corner, it says launching. It doesn't give me the phone as an option because I need at least an API level of 18. So let me fix my application, and to do that we're going to open up the manifest. So the Android manifest, shown down here inside the package view near the end, is a description of what my app is. So it contains a list of all the activities. It contains a list of the security items that my app might need to access, the privileges that it expects to use, for example, whether it will be making outgoing calls, be responding to SMS messages, for example, accessing a GPS information. Within this manifest is where we'll find the minimum SDK the minimum SDK version that this app requires. So I've just double-clicked on the Android manifest, and this little UI pops up. So let me double-click it to make it large, and we can edit our items in here. But what I'm going to show you is what this file actually looks like behind the scenes. So I'm going to click on Android manifest.xml, and here we see the description of our app in text form. So at the top here, you'll see android.play.awesome2. So that, remember, is the package that defines a unique name, a secret internal name of our app. And also, here's the minimum SDK version, 18, which is what we set in the wizard when we first created the app. Okay, so I'm going to say, actually, I'm prepared to run and support earlier phones in this app. So I'm going to change this 18 to, say, 8. Okay. Now, right now, I've got a little star up by the name of this file, our manifest file. So I need to save it. I could do that by doing Command S or Control S or using the menu here. Right, it's saved. If I broke the syntax of this file, so for example, suppose I accidentally deleted a double quote there, I start to get some errors. The tools can no longer read this file correctly, and we start to see errors. So it's saying, oh, it should have been followed by the following. Sometimes the errors are useful. Sometimes we just need to know that these attributes should be correctly formatted, and we need to close our double quote. That's not 2 single quotes, by the way. That really is just a double quote character. Okay, so let's save it, and hooray! My little arrow icons on the left-hand side have disappeared. But in the console, of course, these error messages were from a particular time and place, and they don't disappear. They just so happens that they are no longer relevant. And in fact, if I don't want to keep looking at them, I can manually clear my console. Okay, so let's go back to here. Right, we've changed our manifest. Now let's try and run it. If I'm editing the manifest file, just clicking on the green button doesn't do much. So the most reliable way of running our app is to find the project name up here, right-click on it or control-click on it, and we'll say Run as Android application. Okay, hurrah, good. So now it's giving us the option of actually running it on the phone. So if we wish, we could use the same device, but I'm going to click OK, and we'll see what we get on our phone this time. Okay, so has it started up? In the corner down here in the logcat area, I see that I've got some messages from angrave.play.awesome2. So inside logcat, that's pretty exciting. I can see that things have started, and on the actual display, it says "Hello World." Great. So that's pretty exciting to get our first app on our first piece of hardware running. But let's now start changing things. So let's actually change the message, for example, and let's walk through that. So I'm now going to look at the layout. So if you remember the story so far, we had some Java code, and inside the Java code it said set content view r.layout and activity main. That corresponds to a particular file, and guess what? We can see that file. Here it is. We need to go down into res layout, and inside layout, the layout directory or layout folder, we've got one XML file called activity_main.xml, and here it is. Okay, and this says hello world. Right, so we have this cute little UI here, and we can actually see what it looks like under different devices. For example, I could look at it under a tablet. Let me go back to my Nexus 4. Okay, give it a second here. Right, and I can also look at the actual contents of this file as well. So let me click on the link here, and here we have my little layout. All it has is a single text view with this Android :text thing, which gives us the text, except what? There's no text here. The text itself is stored inside yet another XML file. We do this so that we can reuse bits of strings, and also so that we can internationalize our apps, so that we can change the text independently of the layout. We could, for example, create Spanish versions of all of our English strings. So where should we find this piece of hello world? Well, guess what? We have to go into values. So I'm going to open up now the values here inside the package view, and inside values I found strings. Okay, and here I am looking at the strings.xml. I double click it, and I can see this nice little summary here that I've got an app name, action settings, and hello world, which is the one we cared about. And I could edit it inside here. But guess what? I'm going to click on strings.xml. I want to see the matrix, if you like. I actually want to see what this file looks like. And here it is. I've got 3 entries in here. One called app name, action settings, and hello world. And here's my hello world. So let's change this. Let's say hello awesome world. Now I may not be content with this. I might want in here to include, for example, a double quote, a new line. How do I include a new line? Well, actually it's /n. And how do I want to say, well, guess what, 3 is bigger than 2. Okay, let me save that and also say 2 is bigger than 3. And I'm getting some errors. The tools don't like some of my characters here, especially this less than character. Here's why. They have a special meaning. If we look over here, we'll see that we were using the less than character to say, oh, my string is finishing. And so when we got to this less than character, the tools were kind of confused. Say, hey, what's going on? I don't understand what you're talking about here. So if I actually really want to use less than or greater than, what I really should use is their entities. And I can write that by saying ampersand less than and a semicolon. And if I want to be correct, I can also do the same for the greater than as well. So ampersand greater than. Okay. So that's the correct way of saying greater than and less than. And if I also wanted to write ampersand, I should really say ampersand amp. You'll also see this same encoding inside HTML pages as well, the very pages that power the internet here, the World Wide Web. Okay, so let's save that and go back to our layout. Right, so let's see what we have when I click on the graphical version. And you'll see it's picked up the string, and because we put /n as well for a new line character, we now have 2 lines in this. So now I want to run this and check it works on the phone. But before I do that, we've got a little bit of a challenge here. We want to make sure that we can send debugging information out to our logcat window. So a great way to check that our apps are working is to instrument them, is to make sure that the right pieces of code are running at the right time, and to find out, say, what values are running. So how do we send stuff to this logcat window? Okay, here's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to go inside this onCreate method and add new Java code. So here I am clicking on the end of the set content view. I press return to give myself a new line here, and I want to send something to log window. So guess what? I'm going to type log with a capital L and lowercase o-g. Right, so this is a Java class, and inside that Java class is a method that I'm going to ask to call, and it's just .e. This is going to give me an error message. A nice big red message will appear inside the log window. Okay, and actually you'll see that Eclipse gives me a helpful hint that it expects 2 strings here, a tag and a message. So let me say, yes, I want this one. And for the tag, I better, because it's a string, I will write it in double quotes. So I'll start with 1 double quote, and let me think of a tag I know. I'll say banana. And for my message, I will say, if music be the food of love. Okay, bit of Shakespeare for us here. Okay, now right now you'll see we've got a little light bulb over here. String literal is not properly closed by a double quote. Yes, when we write Java code, we need to make sure that we follow the rules. Just like if you're going to write a play, you need to follow the formatting rules so the actors know which line is theirs. Perhaps there's a difference between what should be spoken and a stage direction, for example. So yes, we need to make sure that we started with a double quote, we need to end with a double quote, And now we have something which syntactically makes a lot more sense. We can see which parts of the Java code, which parts of the strings, for example. We're not quite done yet. If I save this, I still have a big red X over here. Syntax error, insert semicolon to complete statement. In English, we write our sentences and we put periods or full stops between them, between each sentence. So, hello, how are you, for example, is, well, there are two English sentences. In Spanish, we would actually have an upside down question mark as well at the beginning of our question. In Java code, we separate each statement, each sentence, if you like, with a semicolon. So each one has to finish with a semicolon. Right, so my little red box here has gone grey. Hasn't disappeared yet. Why not? Because I haven't actually officially saved the file. So let me do that. I can do Control S or use the menu and save, and hooray, my messages have disappeared. Great. So now I'm going to run this. As a shortcut, I'm going to just click on the little green arrow up here, and yes, I want to run on my phone. So here's my phone, and I can see that I've got the little message up here. Okay, hello, 3 greater than 2, etc. Okay, what about our logcat window? Let's take a look down here. What have we got? Ah, yes, so down here you'll see we've got the error message has appeared at a certain time. Here's the tag. We chose to use banana, and here's our little bit of Shakespeare, if music be the food of love, play on. Okay, so that's me playing, and now it's time for you to play and try to do the same thing. Just before we finish up here, let me get out of the logcat window. I'll just make a note that actually, in addition to the log E window here, there was one little thing that happened quickly that you didn't see, and that was I also had this import statement up here. Log is a short name, just as my first name is Lawrence. The log's full name actually happens to be android.util.log. So if I didn't have the import statement up here, so let's delete that, I would have had to write android.util.log for the full class name. In other words, where is the log class that has this little E method to send an error message out. Well, that's a bit of a mouthful and a lot of typing, and I don't always want to have to write android.util.log, for example. So that's the purpose of the import statements, so that we can type less and our code is a little clearer. So if I just go back here to just a log, okay, I get a little light bulb over here saying log cannot be resolved. There is no class just called log. But guess what? There's an option to say import log from the android.util package. And so let me click on that. And now at the very top, but just before my class main activity starts, it's inserted an import statement for me. You'll notice as well, for example, that there's one for bundle and activity. That's the same idea for down here, that rather than having to write android.app.activity, we could be a lot more terse and just say activity. The import statements says that, well, when you write activity, then you're really talking about android.app.activity. Okay, so now it's your turn. Create a new app. Inside your onCreate, between the set content view and the close brace, insert a log window, insert a log statement. If you want to have just a debugging statement, you could do log D, for example. There's also log V, and there's also WTF, which all of these take a tag and a message. The Android documentation tells me that W2S stands for what a terrible failure, but you can make up your own mind. Alright, so have a go. Don't just watch the videos, but actually have a go and make your app. And when you run into trouble, don't forget to perhaps Google your error messages, see what other people have done to overcome similar problems that you've run into. With that, have a lot of fun creating your apps. Okay, see you in the next video. Before playing the next video, be sure to check out the next steps that we've listed in this week's summary of the course.